Hey y'all, this is Teresa again with the Back to the Power Women in Insurance podcast. And this week I have one of my conference bestie friends. We love each other online, Facebook, but every single time we get together is typically at a conference, unfortunately. But at the same point, we're always looking for ways to kind of get off into the side and be able to have our own little conversation. And we look for each other at conferences. So I wanted to be able to introduce y'all today to a very, very good friend of mine. And I want to make sure I say this. She's with Countryside Insurance in Indiana. And I am excited today to be able to have Susan Johnston on. Hey, how are you, girl?
Actually, it's Susan Wathen Johnston on Facebook.
Yes. See, and that's kind of the thing is that I think whenever we know people on Facebook, like primarily or whatever, especially when people hyphenate their name, you're kind of like, which one, because like everybody knows my husband, I've been married twice, right? I've technically been married 3 times. My first husband was Kitchens. We had 2 beautiful children.
Yes.
I got married to Marcus Hunter, wonderful, amazing man. We got divorced, which is great. But then I changed my name back to Kitchens because that was my kid's name.
So now you get called by all kinds of names, probably.
I do. And then we got remarried. So now his name is Hunter. I did check the box on the marriage license that I can change my name whenever I choose to. But girl, in insurance, there's too many licenses.
I know.
And
then some people will have an alias name on Facebook, but they're like, that's not my real name. And I'm like, what? What am I supposed to call you?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I love you. You know that. You were my first insurance podcast that I discovered, and I fell in love with you. And so I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you.
So excited to have you. And, we have some of the best conversations whenever we get together. But before we get into some of that, because you and I can go down a lot of different rabbit holes together, tell us a little bit about how you got into insurance. Tell us a little bit about your background and tell us about what you love about insurance.
Well, I don't remember anything else but insurance.
Right.
My dad was a Metropolitan life insurance door-to-door salesman. And so that's how he started out. So, that's all I heard about. Usually it was insurance. And then he started this agency when I was 6.
Okay.
And so that was back in the day where we still had no cell phones and home phones.
Yep.
And people would call the house, and he'd come home after a long busy day, and he knew that I was a talker, and so he'd be like, I'm not here, can you answer the phone? And I would start to take messages from people. And so then it became, people would call my father and want to make an auto change, and he taught me how to get the year, make, model, VIN number, all those kinds of things. So then when I was 12, he actually brought me in to file and answer the phone. And then I got my license at 18.
Wow.
And would work summers and, some evenings after school. And then, unfortunately, when I was 22, my mom died and my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer all within 6 months. And so I had to run the agency full time.
Yeah. Very suddenly.
Yeah. And I mean, because he was sick. Yeah. And so I had never been taught how to run an agency. I had just been taught how to do insurance. And so it was kind of, trial by fire. And then I actually had to purchase the agency from his widow, who was not my mother. And there were some lean times.
Yeah.
Many years of struggle, but now I'm 53 and I'm still here, and
I love it.
Been a wild ride.
Well, girl, then we do have a lot more in common than I originally thought, because my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 22, and when I was 21, she passed away when I was 22. So I mean,
it's awful. That's not a fun thing to have to share.
It's not, and I think it's something that makes you and to me, in my experience, I'm not speaking for anybody else and anybody else's experience. I think when you're so young, you still are not truly figured out what it means to be an adult. I think at 21, 22, everybody thinks they're an adult. I'm not going to say they're not an adult.
Oh no, I thought I knew it all then.
But I thought I knew it all. And I think growing up without a mom, or I say growing up because I was 22, right? So, but being an adult, doing adulthood without a mom, I think, and I never ever found another, I was always looking for somebody to be kind of a mom figure to me, somebody that I could talk to, but then it's kind of like, I felt like I was exhausting everybody that I talked to. So it was just kind of funny. It's like, I never quite found that person.
It's the nurturing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I think
it's like that unconditional love nurturing.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's definitely shaped who I am as an adult and how I deal with my team. I think it also has shaped me just as an adult, as a wife, and as a human being with everything, because I don't want other people to feel that lost and that alone. And I think it really shapes how I am as a leader.
Well, you do a great job of mentoring many people, so that definitely shines through.
Wow, thank you. I do want to make sure anybody out there who has gone through those challenges or similar challenges early on just knows that it is a struggle. It's not, you know, if there are young people out there that are listening, you know, in the industry, it is a struggle, and you're okay. You're going to be fine. Well, it's like pushing a boulder up a hill, and unfortunately, but at the same point, there's so many things in life that are that way that it almost like prepares you a little bit for being able to kind of be a little bit more authentic, but strong at the same time.
And resilient.
Resilient. That's a great word.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because that's it. We all have things in our life. I mean, most of us don't get through this unscathed, but I mean, it does serve us well in times like this, you know, where businesses, you know, we were just kind of coasting and everything was going really well, and now everything is like a roller coaster and being turned upside down, and resiliency is a big part of this.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing right now in the industry too that those people, and I'm not going to say agents or not agents, people, and just in general, who are in the industry who don't have that resilience, we can see that they're struggling a lot more, right? We can see that they are ready to sell. We can see that they're the people, like I've seen people on, we've got a couple Facebook groups where people are maybe looking to sell or buy agencies. And I've seen more posts there in the past 6 months about this industry is affecting my health and I have to get out. I've never seen posts like that before.
And I mean, I'm not immune from it, and I'm sure you're not either. No. We have bad days.
Yeah.
But I think the benefit of us having done this for a long time is that we know this too will pass.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, it may suck, and it may suck for a while, but it will pass, and there will be glory days again.
Yeah. So and it's not going to look the same way. It's not going to look the same way that it did. And I think we need to be very honest about that, right? Because I have been in the industry a long time. I've been in the industry a long time. You and I are almost the same age. So really, I think the timeline when we were going through things is very similar. I mean, I was not in the insurance industry at 22. I was teaching school. So there was a difference there, obviously. But I got into the insurance industry in the mold crisis here in Texas because my dad was with Allstate. And he could not write any more home business. And so he wanted to go independent, but he had a non-compete, and he did pretty well with his Allstate agency. He was at that point where he was just really starting to make a little bit of money and he didn't want to give it up. So I went independent. So he referred a lot of business over. And then eventually when everything got going really well with the agency, he shut down his Allstate agency. So you know, so we worked in tandem. I wouldn't really say we worked together, but we worked in tandem in a lot of ways. I will never forget calling him and saying, hey, they say I need this thing called E&O. I was like, I don't even know what that is. He goes, me either. And I was like, what do you mean? You've been doing this forever. And he was like, but Allstate does all that. He goes, I don't know. And there was so much that even though I can say we worked in tandem, like he had no idea. Like he had no idea what an accord form was. He had no idea what like half of these like replacement cost value point all this.
But doesn't that just go to show how fortunate we are now to have these groups on,
Yes.
on Facebook or, masterminds or whatever, that you can literally just pick up your phone and say, what's E&O?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
30 people will respond within 15 minutes and answer your questions and tell you the best company to go to. And it's just, we're very fortunate right now in
We
many
are.
respects.
We are. And I think coming from an environment where that wasn't around for so long, to have it now, because I did not discover the online forums until 2016, I think. It might have been
I was after you.
2015. So when did you get in?
I think I didn't get in until I think 2019, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I was a
Okay.
late bloomer.
But you're so funny. But they're a game changer. They
It
are.
is.
Community
It really
that you
is.
get from it, you're not alone anymore. And I think that's one of my struggles with being independent, is being so alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like
I mean,
do corporate meetings to go
we've
to.
always been an independent insurance agency, so I've gone through all of that. But I mean, I literally was on an island from 1997 until whatever 2019, 2020, literally on an island.
Yeah.
I mean, because who am I going to turn to? My direct competitors,
Right.
And I mean, I literally had people when I took over the agency, some older men in the community that said, we'll give her 6 months. So I had that going on, and that's coming back to me from carrier reps and everything. And so I couldn't turn to anybody.
Yeah.
I just had to figure it out. And then this came along, and it was just like the greatest thing ever, that you had this community that wanted to literally assist and build each other up instead of stabbing each other in the back and tearing each other down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I don't know why people locally feel the need to tear each other down, but online people are super supportive. To me, that's just weird.
It is weird.
Isn't
I know.
it?
It is.
It's
I mean,
just
they're not
really
always
weird.
super supportive online, but as a general
Right, that's very
rule,
true. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, people I could run into at the grocery store, I'm going to be mean to, but people that I never will see unless I go to a conference, I'm going to be nice to. Sometimes I'm like, guys, let's just be nice, period. Let's not.
I actually have a couple of I call them friends. One's an American Family agent and one is State Farm locally. And I thought about them this morning because I was thinking about how the media is not really, I don't think, doing the best job about talking about the current state of insurance. And I thought about reaching out to a couple of the local papers and talking to those ladies and saying, what about interviewing the three of us to just discuss? Because I thought, that'd be good. An independent agent, State Farm, and American Family coming together to talk about the state of insurance.
I think that would be a great idea. I think you should run for it.
We'll
when you do it, let me know, because I want to see it. I want to watch it.
All right, we'll see if I can make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we talk about resilience, right? And I think we were talking about that a little bit before we even really got started. And I think I love the word resilience, and I love another word that goes very much hand in hand with it is tenacity.
Tenacity.
And I love the word tenacity because I feel like it's such a badass word. I don't know.
It is.
I just think it's such a cool word,
tattooed down your arm.
Right? I could add it to my tags. I only have like 6 or 7.
Resilience.
I need more, right? I need to put like resiliency down the side, kind of like one of those like what do you want to call it? Like put a skull with it, like tenacity. With flowers, make it feminine.
That could have been our Halloween costume.
Right? Exactly. So let's talk about being resilient. Okay, let's talk about being tenacious, being resilient. I think resilient is a nice way of being tenacious. I don't know how to put it in my mind. That's what I'm hearing in my head. But I think resilience is just not quitting, and tenacious is being a little bit more I don't know how to put it. It's a little stronger. It's a little bit.
I was going to say ballsy, but
ballsy. I agree. It's a little bit more ballsy than being resilient.
Yeah.
But I think both of them right now, whatever methodology we need to be able to use this market. Our teams are tired. Our markets are tired. Our markets are getting smaller, and the ones that it will take are a lot harder to be able to deal with. And then even underwriting guidelines, we're getting more cancellations.
Which are changing daily.
Yes. And they're coming in, and this is stuff that isn't just 1 or 2 times, it's everything, right? Yes. How are you working on resilience and tenacity? Because I think those are very similar words. How are you approaching that mentally and emotionally and or with your team?
Well, I think to a certain degree, you're kind of born with it. A lot of it, you just have it or you don't. As leaders, we can try to protect our team and help as much as possible, but I don't think that's something that you can teach.
Right.
So, a lot of it for us is trying to come up with processes to weed some of it out. Sadly, there are some clients that will not make it through this
Yep.
Next period with our agency. And when you get into a situation like this, I think you have to look at the whole entire picture and the health of your employees, but also your agency.
Yep.
And there are some people that may have been lovely at one time, but are no longer healthy for you. And for the health of the team and the business, they got to go.
Yeah. Isn't that true in life though? I think if we take that and we just apply that, I always think sometimes that we really take life and we apply it to business, we take business and apply it to life. A lot of the lessons are kind of the same. And I'm always shocked whenever we're thinking things are so new in the world, because they're really not, right?
No,
like
nothing's
the
new.
I had when I was 20 or 30 are not necessarily the same friends I have today.
Correct.
And I had a really, really great friend. We were very best friends for a number of years. I'm going to say almost 20 years. We raised our kids together. We're best friends. Like nothing can separate us, right? And then of course people get married, people have men in their lives. Those darn men, they just screw everything up. But anyway, and I don't know, I noticed that, and then I found a different way of thinking. I went through some trauma and I just decided I didn't want to be that person anymore that I used to be. And I decided that I really wanted to pursue peace and happiness, not sit around and gripe all the time. And we had like a 8 o'clock call every morning. I would drop my kids off at school.
That's nice.
8 a.m. in the morning. I call her, she called me, like we dropped off our kids at different schools at the same time almost. And so then all of a sudden we were just on the phone. And so when I'd be driving to work, she'd be driving to go get her day started, whatever. We would have like an 8 a.m. call, but it got to the point where I noticed most of it was griping. Most of it was just complaining about something. And it just, and a part of me thought, well, it's just us venting. But then as time went on, I realized we never really talked about anything really positive. We never really, we would talk to each other like, oh, you're awesome. But we didn't really talk about our situations, about how we could be positive influences. It was more about how we were victims to the things that were going on around us. And as I got a little older, I decided that wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. Right. So I tried to change the narrative in that relationship. And with that, we ended up growing apart. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And then I think it just got to the point where there was just too many differences between us. We just pretty much let each other go in love. You know, I mean, I saw her last weekend, love her. I see her like every 5 years now, and I don't talk to her in between. We see each other kind of at major family things because our kids are friends, and we still kind of have a lot of the same, like I love her family loves me, that kind of thing. But I think we need to take into consideration right now that we need to be that beacon for positivity. And there will be people who will not be able to make that journey with us.
Yes. And I too catch myself at times.
Yeah.
You know, there are days when you are just taking it from all areas.
There are days that I don't
think that you're going to lose your mind.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I have to step outside. I just need to take a break or whatever, because my mood is going to affect everybody else's mood.
Yeah.
And if I'm down, it's going to bring everybody else down.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, you know, it's a daily struggle. I have to check in with myself sometimes. But again, we just need to try to remain as positive as we can. I mean, not fake positivity, but positive. I mean, again, like with the whole, this thing shall pass at some point. And, you know, you and I had talked earlier about pivoting. Maybe we don't concentrate as much on, you know, personal lines, which dealing with people on a daily basis can bring you down. So maybe we concentrate on life insurance, or maybe we concentrate on commercial, or, you know, different things. Our processes, cleaning up our processes. You know, we've started limiting what we will write and putting our own in-house underwriting guidelines that weed out a lot of the people that are calling in and looking for insurance. Just different ways to try to make things better. It's a daily struggle trying to figure it out.
It is. And I think we also, to me, I think I also need to keep into consideration that I know that I need to help other people level up. So I need to set that tone, like you were saying, but also maybe people can be front facing in different ways than other people. We were talking earlier before we got started too about the fact that I'm trying to hire more I've got really good, systematic, strong people who know what they're doing, as long as things work in a structure, in an order, in a foundation, as long as it works on a checklist and a spreadsheet. And that's wonderful. But I also need some people who can pivot, some people who can talk about 3 different products at once, somebody who can mentally answer the phone, take care of this, and then mentally go do that, and then take care of that, and then come back to this. And everything doesn't have to be, oh, I hung up the phone, now I have to go do this, and I can't answer the phone until, we need people that can pivot, right? That's a great word for it.
I mean, my husband and I have had that conversation because I'm a master at that.
Yeah.
I can have like 20 things going on at once. I'll remember to go back to it, and constantly shuffling. And, but not everybody can do that for sure. But that is a huge asset for your team that you need. And I may not be here forever, and occasionally I may want a day off. So there needs to be some, no, it's like unheard of, but
day off
sometimes. But you need that in your team too. You need the stable, run the course, and you need the pivoter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for people to know that they do need both. I think we always think of strong, steady, or we think, and I think it's a lot of what our personality is too. Like, I'm a pivoter, right? So I like strong, steady because I feel like they keep me in line.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So to be a pivoter needs to pivot with me, not against me, right? So I need somebody that we move in motion together, not somebody that we're constantly running into each other. So I think I like the structure-oriented people, and I think that's why I've hired so many of them, which is wonderful and which is great. But I also need people who can be that first responder pivot, that immediate. So we're actually hiring for those differently. So this industry and this where we are right now in this industry is changing how I hire.
Yeah.
It's changing how I coach my team, because we may say things like, we're talking more about time blocking. So
we started to be able to
give, we've even tried the concept where everybody gets 2 hours a day where they do the pivot thing. So for 2 hours, you are responding, you're getting things done. And then the other 4 hours out of the day, whatever it is you're doing, then you get to do things systematically, right? But during these 2 hours, you're working the phones, you're doing this, you're doing this. During this 2 hours, you're number 3 on the phones, right? You're not number 1 on this. So we're trying different things.
Yeah, we're doing that too. And it does help a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, when you're knee deep in the middle of, say, filling out a commercial accord application, which is no fun at all in anyone's world. And then, you're getting somebody that's calling in about their payments, and then somebody else is wanting to change the beneficiary on their life insurance policy, and the doorbell's ringing, or, whatever. And you're just like, ah. So it is nice to have that time blocking.
It is. And I think that by listening to what it is that our team is struggling with, and by having a good relationship with them, hopefully by listening, they feel heard, and they know that in this industry, we're doing our very best. I think that transparency of being able to say, okay, what are we struggling with? Here's what I feel like we're struggling with. What are you struggling with? And then they can kind of bring that to the table. And then we can make a little list, so we can say, okay, how can we all work to get what we want? So in this moment, you might be doing exactly what you hate, but maybe you only do it for 2 hours a day, right? You hate the pivot, you hate the first responder, but it's only 2 hours a day, or it's only Tuesday, Thursday or something, right? And, would you rather do it for a whole day, or is that exhausting? Would you rather do it 2 hours a day? By us creating a plan together as a team, I think it helps us to maybe enforce it as a team, and then to say, okay, this doesn't work for me. The challenge I'm having on the other side of that is sometimes people have a little bit too much of an opinion, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go change it because I can do what I want to do. No, we still work as a team, right? I mean,
and that's the struggle I think that we see on our Facebook groups and everything, is trying to get the right butts in the seat and trying to move these chess pieces around to make everything work. I I mean, because there's, we've gone through times where it's hard to find anybody that wants to apply for the job at all.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get people who want to apply, but are they the right fit? And sometimes you don't know until they seem great on paper. You talk to them and they seem great, but the whole team's not interviewing. I'm interviewing. And then when you put them in that seat, maybe that flow doesn't work. So it's really interesting trying to figure everything out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think being able to connect gifts, give people time off, think through what it is that they want to do. I think when we sit down, sometimes my butt hits the seat and I don't even look up until 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it's already 3.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we need to recognize and call out the elephant in the room with our team. This is really what's going on. And I hear it and I see it and I'm experiencing it too. I think it's those disconnected leaders that people feel like they're just working for nothing, not necessarily the money. They feel like they're just working for a paycheck. And I think that's when people feel like they get lost in this industry, is when they feel like they're working for the clients, when they're working for the team, when they're working for the group, for the agency as a whole, and that they're valued and they're listened to. Then I think they're willing to make some of those changes and pivot easier. And they're willing to do things because they know that they have to work as a team, that everybody's not the same way as they are.
Yes. But for whoever's listening to this that doesn't have a team, because I mean, I've been that person that only had one other person. It's still important to find the balance, even if it's just one other person that compliments you.
Yeah.
When there were times when it was just 2 of us, I was the more social, outgoing, talkative. She was the one who was really good with numbers. I was not good with numbers.
Right.
So just finding skill sets that complement each other.
Yep. And I think that's really more important now today than it has been in the past. I think in the past we could make people work. We could find a way to be able to compromise and get them to work in some ways.
Yeah, and now it's not that way. They can leave
just
like
we're
that.
not. Yeah. But we talked about this a little bit earlier too, is that I feel like our team is we are like a puzzle, even us, me as an individual. It doesn't even mean a team. I have different pieces of me. Yeah. If I try to put something in a certain piece of the puzzle, it might work there for a little bit, but it really is not the best piece, right, for that space. And so, but if you move it over here and this other thing, then all of a sudden the picture looks better over there, right? And it really fits in well. Sometimes though, I think we take that piece and we're kind of wiggling it, right, on the puzzle. And we're like, does it go here? Does it go in this space? Well, if we have to do that, then it doesn't work. And our team and ourselves are the same way. Whether or not we're, a 1-person or even a 2-person operation, or if we're a 20-person operation, I think it's important to be able to say that I need to work the way I need to work. And if that means that I hire VAs, great. Some people hate VAs. Some people don't like to work with.
I still haven't done it.
What?
I still haven't hired a VA.
Yeah. And if you don't, then you don't, right? It's okay.
I think about it sometimes, but I just haven't done it yet.
Right.
I like having people in office. For me, I like the camaraderie. I like the being able to get up and walk into someone else's office and talk to them about an account. I mean, I like to hear about your day and to hear your struggles. And my door's open and anybody can come in at any time and ask me what they need to. That's how I prefer to work.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't work for everyone. Some people love remote and would never be in office. Everyone's different. And that's what makes us all so great also as independent insurance agents. We have the option to choose.
Yeah. And I love that. I think we've embraced that a little bit more in the past, 5 years, and maybe a little bit before COVID. I think everybody was scared of the virtual conversation. Now we know that it can work, but we know that it needs to be a right dynamic to be able to work. Yeah. It's not just a shoe-in guarantee that this is going to work.
No.
Like we're virtual.
It goes back to the pivot.
Yeah, right. You have to pivot. Exactly. And we've been virtual for a number of years. We were, I'm going to say 50% virtual before COVID. And then we just went 100% virtual after COVID. Yeah. I still physically have offices, but I go there to check mail and I want to Google my business thing, because that's what brings in a lot of business for us.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I have offices. And that's why I pay rent for those offices. But I've scaled down into 1-room offices. They're not big offices. But
well, I mean, that is a good point, because I mean, you save on overhead too with not if you don't have the offices. So,
but one of the things, sorry, I had to take a
you're
3
fine.
Dr. Pepper. You know me, I'm a soda girl. But one of the things too that we did, we just started doing it, is that when I hired my daughter 2 years ago, I was like, okay, get on Zoom, and she's in Denver. I'm in Dallas. So I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you insurance, but we're going to do it over Zoom. So then when I hired my next account manager, she's in Austin, I'm in Dallas, and everybody I normally had hired had been local. So even though we were working virtually, we just went home and we worked, and we still had chat and all this other stuff, but we didn't do Zoom all day. So then when I hired down in Austin, I was like, let's be on Zoom all day. My daughter and I are on Zoom. It's worked really well. So why don't you join my daughter and I? Then all of a sudden I was like asking the other team members, why don't y'all join us? Then I brought the VAs on, and I'm like, okay, if y'all want to, y'all can have like a breakout room, kind of your own little office area. So then the VAs are all in a breakout room. We have other breakout rooms to where if I'm an outside sales rep, Courtney comes on in, she wants to talk, we just go into a separate room, right? Lisa, we just go into a separate room. But all the account managers and myself sit in the main room for that Zoom call, and we can talk, right? We can mute ourselves if we're on the phone, or we can say, hey, I can't figure out where this is, or how would you look at this, or oh, look at this, I just got this email, or whatever. And we
really,
can
in some ways, that makes you closer than I even am in my physical office, because we still have separate rooms and doors and whatever. I mean, you all are available to each other 24/7 pretty much. So
pretty much,
that's great.
Yeah. And so, and what we'll do is, I do struggle with turning off my camera. Like there are times that as an owner, I just
you're eating your lunch.
Thanks. I'm eating my lunch. It's not all that great when I'm sort of, I mean, they don't want to see me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I go pour myself a Jack and Diet Coke because the day's been kind of tough, right? There's certain things they don't always need to see. But they don't need to see, little nip, my little drink. No, just kidding. But I have found that it really has brought our culture in the virtual environment to where I wanted it to be, because I wanted to be virtual, but at the same point, I wanted to have a really good culture, and I couldn't figure that out. So it took me a while to figure it out. Again, it's that pivot. It's what we want and how can we get it? And let's not stick with the conventional manners. Let's do what's best for us. And I think that has changed everything for us.
Yeah. And that's what I like too about going to the conferences, meeting new people, getting on the Facebook groups, is getting other ideas and hearing what works for other people and trying something that you may not have ever even thought of. Because that is, we only know what we know.
Right.
And like you were saying that you were hiring someone to help you with hiring, and I'm talking to someone to help me with, coaching our team. And it's like, we only know what we know. And when we get these new ideas, not being afraid to pivot and try some of those ideas to see if it possibly works. I never would have thought that I would have done unlimited time off. And I do it now, and it works great. And I mean, the Susan of 20 years ago, who was keeping tabs on everything and, your time off and all that, would have imagined that I would do that.
No, but you know what? It's liberating.
Yeah, it is.
It's
liberating for me too.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to keep track of all that. Exactly. But it makes people happier.
It does. And I think I get more work out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, we're virtual. So like if somebody needs to go to the doctor, they go, they come back. It's not a big deal. But then I also see, because I've got people working on different time zones.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes somebody will pop in and pick up an extra 2 hours or whatever, like from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock or something, right? When somebody else is still on the Zoom, and I keep the Zoom going. Maybe I turn off my camera or whatever, but my daughter's usually on anyway. So it's kind of funny because after everybody else leaves, like at 6 o'clock, because different time zones, whatever, she's in Denver. So she's an hour later than me. So she'll be still working a little bit. And she's so funny because then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, everybody's gone, and I'm like, so what'd you do this weekend? And I love it. And it's really funny because Danielle, who's my personalized account manager, she's one of the first people that comes in the morning. She likes starting early. So sometimes in the morning I'm like, hey, what are you doing today? And it's kind of like that coffee talk,
yeah,
right? Or the water cooler talk, right?
Yeah.
And I love it. I have a great VA too. She comes in on Fridays and she has a game for everybody to play at noon on Fridays. Every single Friday, she plays a game. So sometimes
Good
it's like,
idea.
guess this song, and it's like she plays a snippet of a song, and we have to guess who the artist is and what the name of the song is. Sometimes
That's
she's done
fun.
like movie clips. She's done like, what's this picture? She's done all sorts of like little games. We've only been doing it like 2-3 months, but she's
Fun
kind of in
though.
charge of that, and she does a great job with all that. Like,
And
that's
she
her
probably
passion.
enjoys it too.
She does.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, just any little things like, we do the lunches together once a week. And, in the past, we've done massages, we've done car detailing, we've tried, lots of different things. Lunches have stuck.
Right. Everybody loves
Um,
food.
yeah, everybody loves food and it gives you a time to talk.
Yeah.
So whatever works for you, but you just got to find it. You just got to sample some different things to find what you like.
I like that. Sample some different things and figure out what you like. I like that.
Yeah.
And then do you ask them what they want to, or do you kind
Yes,
of
but
watch their
a lot of
reaction, or a little
times
bit of both?
it's a lot of times it's the reaction because when you ask, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's what I found.
I don't know.
I'm like, so what do you really enjoy? A
Um,
bonus. Well, then I try to offer them like $100 gift card or whatever for like 2 days worth of work or whatever. Hey, whoever has the most umbrellas this week wins $100 gift cards.
yeah,
They don't care. I'm like,
I
well, I thought
know.
you wanted bonuses. I thought you wanted blank. But you give them like a gift certificate to go to a water park with their family. They're like clamoring over it, You're like, oh my goodness, that's
That's
crazy.
just it. Again, you just don't ever know because I always thought it was money too, but money does not seem to be the motivating factor.
No.
So you got to find what that is.
Yeah, yeah. And I know when my daughter was doing outside sales, I would be like, okay, for this quarter, if you make this goal, what do you want? And
Yeah.
then she would say things like, oh, I want my car detailed. Or she would say something like, at one point, she was so cute. She was like, well, you know what I want? I said, what? She goes, I want a watch. I said, you want a what? She said, because whenever I go into people's offices, I feel really bad pulling out my phone and looking at how long I've been there.
Oh,
She said, so
that's
if
a good
it's on my
idea.
if it's on my wrist, I could just kind of look down and then I could just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I have another appointment. But that way you're not in an appointment for 3 hours talking to some, person
Yeah.
who won't stop talking. So she wanted a nice watch.
Isn't
And so
that funny?
I
That's
just
like a
thought, how
throwback.
genius.
I never would have thought someone her age would have ever said a
Seriously, I
watch.
agree. And I think by asking those questions, though, and I say this all the time on the podcast, I will never forget when I went to, this might have been right before you got in. I went to, I think it was Arizona for innovation.
Mhm.
And Uma Roy spoke, and
Yeah.
she said that Kelly Donahue Piro told her to ask her team what they wanted. She thought they were going to ask for like a cruise or something as like some big incentive, like bonus type thing for the year.
Mhm.
They wanted to wear yoga pants on Friday.
Done.
Bam.
I too will wear yoga pants on Friday. Well, I mean, that was another thing. We always used to be dressed up,
Yep.
COVID switched all that, thank God. And now we're like t-shirts and jeans. So we're comfortable.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think, yeah, and I agree. The old way of doing things were, skirt, heels, whatever, or even just dress pants, a nice pair of dress shoes. Now, I mean, literally, hold on. I'm in my socks. I got shoes
Oh,
on,
well,
I mean,
I'm still in my jeans.
there you
So
go. And this is Halloween, so I'm dressed up as a baseball player, but I got on my yoga
it's
pants,
very cute.
socks, and it's like, just be comfortable,
Yeah.
just do you, I mean, and I'm all for like, if we have,
But I think that makes that's like to throw out another word, being authentic also.
yeah,
Because I mean, I feel like you and I are both very authentic. We are who we are. We don't put on airs or try to be anyone, that we're not. And I think that works for us. Now, obviously, not everybody can probably rock yoga pants and jeans
right.
and a t-shirt where they are.
And some
But
people may feel like I really don't need to, but I do try to make sure my booty is covered. So,
well, I try to do the same because nobody
yeah,
wants to see that.
right.
But yeah, I think it's about being authentic to yourself, and that was another thing that we took a look at because when I was younger, I used to wear the female business suits, and heels, and you get older and you're like, no.
I don't have time for that. I still admire people that do it, but I just don't.
Well, I would see when they look fantastic. I just don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not who I am. It's not what I'm doing. And I think we need to keep that in mind with our team, with our clients, with the culture that we're in today, and as we look at our operations and our structure, being able to say, where can we maybe relax it a little bit? Maybe where can we maybe be a little bit more formal, right? Maybe for commercial, we need to be a little bit more formal in certain industries. I will never forget, I think I was on one of David Carruthers boot camps for commercial insurance, and he goes, dress for your client. Like
Very
if you're going into construction workers and you're going into people that are in manufacturing, and you walk in a 3-piece custom suit that, that they're not going to bond with that. They're just not, right? But if you're writing, maybe an industry that is, attorneys.
I think of attorneys, who are always, in suits.
Great point. Exactly. Then you walk in jeans and boots, they're not going to respect you as much.
Correct.
But if you walk in a great suit, they're going to respect you more. Whereas if you do the opposite with construction, contractors or whatever, they're not going to love you in a 3-piece suit. They're going to go, oh my gosh, this guy's so hoity-toity. He doesn't, he can't relate to me in what I do for a living. Yeah. And I think we have to keep our audience in mind, pivot. Exactly. And sometimes it's daily, right? So if we're doing something for our team, ask them what they want. If we're doing something for our clients, ask them what they want. In a lot of ways, surveys are great to be able to say, hey, how are y'all doing? Our clients are struggling just as much as our team is.
They are.
And I think just as much as we need to spend a little extra love on our team, we need to spend a little extra love on our clients. Maybe send them, I hate to say it this way, send them an extra little gift of something, send them just a thank you note.
I think sometimes it's just as simple as taking a little time to hear them.
Yeah.
Just to hear them. Don't talk, just listen, let them go, and I think a lot of people need that and appreciate that post-COVID. I don't know if we are post-COVID, but you know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of people who are struggling and they just want to be heard.
I think a lot of people, like you said, they're struggling post-COVID. I think people are still a little leery about getting out and being around people. Certain people are, but then also with the tightening of our economy and then the wars that are going on around the world right now, and with our economy being the way it is, and then of course we're coming up to an election, so everybody prepare yourself. Opinions are going to be rampant everywhere you go.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Nobody wants that. But at the same point, letting people be heard is the number one point of satisfaction. I don't care who you are or what age you are. Everybody needs to be heard.
Yeah. And to whatever women that are hearing this, I always think it's, I hear some women say they go to conventions or whatever, and they didn't get to meet people. I mean, just reach out.
Yeah.
I don't know of any women in the one group that we're in on Facebook that would literally turn someone away.
Right.
I think everyone is so inclusive and is willing to talk, and they'll give you their cell phone number and you can email them or whatever. So I think if anyone's struggling in our industry through this time, they need to just reach out.
Yeah. And I think we need to understand too, we're only human beings. We can only put so much focus and attention in so much space. So if we see that somebody is like at a conference, right? Or even online, right? Maybe they're talking to certain people. It doesn't mean they don't welcome other people to join the conversation. I think sometimes we sit in a little corner. We want to be invited into a conversation. And sometimes we just need to walk up and go, hey, ladies, how are you? And then all of a sudden it's like, great, sit down. Join us. We're talking about this. Let's do it. And also,
I've been rebuffed in the past, when I go up to a group, sometimes they're not receptive to me. And because I am who I am, I think they're lost.
Right?
I'm fun.
But then the table next to you would love to have people join you.
Exactly. Right? And so you pivot and turn to the other table.
Right.
And and then you make, lifelong friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the key here that we're saying is whether or not you're out there meeting other people in the industry, whether or not you're networking, whether or not you're in sales, if you're in service, take a little bit of extra time to be able to listen, talk to your clients, pivot with them on what they need, what they're looking for. With our teams, make sure that we pivot a little bit, listen to them. What are they looking for? What feeds their soul? And then turn around and pivot yourself. Give yourself a little bit of time, a little bit of extra love to be able to accomplish the goals that we have, and a little bit of grace. Right now, we might have had a 5-year plan that in 2019 we were going to be at a certain space, but between 2020 and then the market in 22, 23,
we would have seen that coming.
Going into 24, your plan may be out the window.
So pivot to a new plan.
You just pivot and create a new one. And that's where tenacity comes in.
And also, I was going to say, and if we can give some resilience and tenacity to someone, I'll be happy to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that resilience is the staying the course. And I think tenacity is the ability to make that course what you need it to be in the space that you're in, and you adjust the resilience. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it doesn't always look the same every day. And it's never going to. I mean, I think before we, and I keep on saying this before we got started, because we did talk before we got started, but we're not brain surgeons. We don't cure childhood cancer. We're not, keeping people off death row. We're not defense attorneys. We're not, we didn't choose to be in a super stressful environment. I get that. A lot of those industries, people went into those knowing that those were very stressful environments. But at the same point, we're fine. We're good. As long as our job is to take care of our team, our job is to take care of our clients. Our job is to do our very best. We cannot control our carriers. We can go to meetings and we can have a voice, but we can't control them. We can have more of an impact with our day-to-day clients and our day-to-day team members and the people that we impact on a daily basis, including ourselves. And to me, that's where tenacity comes in.
Yep. Well said, my friend.
I love it. I love it. Well, Susan, if people want to reach out to you and talk to you up there in Indiana, I know it's a little cold today, and I know it's a little chilly.
Soon we started.
Yeah, exactly. But
sun's out. I'm hoping it's like 60 now.
Right? Hopefully so. Maybe go outside.
Well, you can find me on Facebook as Susan Wathen Johnston. True.
Don't forget the Wathen, and don't forget the Johnston with the T.
With the T, yes.
With the T.
And email Susan W. It's really long at countrysideinsinc.com.
Perfect.
You can find me on Facebook. That's usually the easiest. And send me a message. I mean, I'll be able to help in any way that I possibly can.
I love it. I love it. Well, my
friend,
love you. You are amazing as always. And I have loved talking to you. Everybody, make sure you reach out to Susan. She's great. She's a beacon of love, honor, cherish. She's a tenacious, amazing woman out there in the insurance space. So that is why she is a power woman in insurance.
Yeah. Thank you, friend.
All right, everybody, this has been another amazing episode of the Power Women in Insurance podcast, where we highlight women throughout the insurance space. So make sure that you take a look at our Facebook page. Make sure you check us out on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, blah, 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 all the cool places. But the reality is we do try to make sure we have a new episode every single Wednesday where we highlight another amazing human in the insurance space. So everybody, again, my name is Teresa Kitchens, and I will talk to you next week.